Hi, good morning. I'm Pam Fox. Thanks for being here. Today I'm going to talk about the difference between plant-based diets and all the other diets and why most diets fail. So first, the first reason diets usually fail is, and I'm going to talk about two things today. And the first one is hunger. Obviously, so human beings innately our survival depends on, food, water, and air. And so there is a brilliant mechanism built within us that lets us know when it's hungry. So when we undereat, we're going to crave, certain foods simply because we're hungry. And so when we go on a restrictive diet, a diet that involves portion controlling, reducing the amount of food, small quantities of food, the body is smart enough to know that it's not getting in as much fuel as it needs. And so it lets us know, I'm hungry, let's eat. And so because that is such a strong and powerful innate mechanism, it's very difficult to come above that, to overcome that. Because again, our species depends on it. It depends on eating and getting in, a desired level of calories. And so then you have to rely, when you go on these calorie restrictive diets, you have to rely on so much discipline and willpower. And most of us, there are people who succeed on these so-called diets, these calorie restrictive diets. They have to have a lot of willpower and determination to stick to that and rise above and overcome, again, that innate voice that's saying, hello, let's eat, I'm hungry. But what typically happens, and you may have experienced this, but you don't even have to experience it. All you have to do is know people and look around. So many times, more times than not, people will lose the weight. They'll come up with the willpower and the discipline to be on the diet and to succeed and lose the weight. And then what happens? They cannot maintain that diet long term. They can't sustain it for the rest of their life. Again, because we have that innate mechanism, that voice that tells us we need to eat. We're hungry. I'm hungry, let's eat. So then what do? They go back to their old style of eating and they put the weight back on, and oftentimes they put back more weight than they even started with. And so what happens with that is simply you muster up the willpower, you stay on the diet, you lose the weight, and then what eventually happens is what I call kind of the screw it mentality or the screw it attitude, where you say, I don't care, I'm going to eat whatever I want. Maybe you're patting yourself on the back because you did a good job and lost the weight, or maybe you just are saying, forget it, I don't care. In this moment, I'm going to eat everything in sight. And then what do? We might eat an entire cake or a whole bag of potato chips, or just, go to a restaurant and order appetizers and entrees and wine and dessert. Because we have that screw it attitude. I'm going to eat. And again, that's not you failing. That's not you not, having horrible willpower or, poor discipline. That's that innate mechanism that's built within you that's speaking to you to let you know that in order to survive, we must eat. So let's eat. And the body doesn't really distinguish, it's just letting you know it's hungry. It can't look at, the name of a restaurant and go, oh, I doubt if there's any good options on that menu. Don't go in there. It doesn't know. It's just letting you know it's hungry. And so that's number one. And so number one is hunger, simply. We need fuel in our cells. And when that fuel is not in there, when it's depleted, the body is going to speak to us and let us know. So if we're eating these tiny little portions, then the body's going to understand that its fuel tanks are low, and it's going to let us know, hey, I'm hungry. The second reason that those diets fail is because of pleasure. So again, innately, we are pleasure seekers. And one of the most pleasurable things that we can experience in this world is eating, is food. So when we put ourselves into that situation where we are now restricting food, that is going to, again, the body is going to speak to you, and it's more of a mental game where it's going to say, you know, I don't want to be restricted. I don't want to go without. And have you ever fasted? I know that I've fasted before, and by like just for one day or even for a half a day, all I do is think about food. All I do is think about food. I'll go to the refrigerator and I'll look in there and I'll think, I'm coming back for you later. I'm coming back for you later. I don't even care what it is. It can be that one pickle in the bottom of the jar in the back of the refrigerator that's like 2 years old, and I'm coming after you. You know, when this fast is over, we just mentally, we are pleasure seekers and we want to eat. And it's all part of that brilliant mechanism, again, that keeps our species alive, because we are lazy. Really, human beings, you know, by nature, we're lazy. And that's part of our survival as well. Our bodies want to expend the least amount of energy in terms of survival. And so if it weren't for that mechanism, we would never eat because we're so lazy. That's why the pleasure and the hunger, all of that has to be very strong in order to get us up and to get us to eat. I mean, how many times have you gone all day without eating? If it weren't for those signals, our species would have died out a long time ago. It's very brilliant and important mechanism that our bodies speak to us and tell us to eat. So it's there for a good reason. So it's up to us to be intelligent enough to decide, you know, what kind of eating we're going to do, what is healthy for us and what's not. And again, our body speaks to us about that as well. I mean, I guarantee you, if you were locked in a room and you were provided 2 different kinds of food every single day to eat, maybe you were given a pile of junk food and a pile of health foods, you might eat those junk foods for a period of time in the beginning because they're tasty and you like them, but your body is going to speak to you and let you know that it's not feeling well. And if you've got this option over here of healthy food, you're going to switch over to that. Your body is smart enough to understand the difference, and it will speak to you. We ultimately have to make the choice as to what we put in our mouth, but we must stop and listen to the signals our body is sending us. So if you're sick, if you have any kind of symptoms, if your doctor tells you have high blood pressure, high cholesterol, your sugar, you know, blood sugar levels are out of whack, you have headaches, you have acne, skin conditions, all of those things are your body talking to you. Poor digestion, if you are fatigued, if you're tired, your body is speaking to you and letting you know that the food that you're putting in is not accurate, is not doing your body well. We just don't listen to those signals. We just say, oh, I'm sick. I better go see a doctor. I better get on my medication. I better find a treatment, which is usually, you know, surgery or medication. Very rarely do we stop and think, what did I eat today? What does my diet look like? What am I putting in my mouth 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 times a day, 7 days a week? What are the common foods that I'm eating? Try looking at those in relation to your symptoms and your conditions, because I guarantee there is a connection. So, hunger and pleasure. Those are the 2 reasons that we fail on all of those diets. And so what is the alternative? So, you know me, I promote a plant-based diet. And so a lot of people think, well, Pam, a plant-based diet is the most extreme diet there is. You're telling me you're not restricting anything on a plant-based diet? Here's the thing. I talked about this in my last video. So on a plant-based diet, you're eating an abundant variety of plant foods, and you're eating till satiation. So I started to talk about the 3 ways that we reach satiation. And I talked about meeting our caloric needs. I talked about meeting our nutrient needs, but I didn't talk about meeting our stretch receptor needs. So just briefly, what that is your stomach is elastic. And so it has these stretch receptors so that when it fills up, it can kind of fill up and be nice and full. And when it does that, when the stomach is full, those stretch receptors are activated. And that's, again, one of the mechanisms that lets the body know, I'm full now, we can stop eating. So on a plant-based diet, we can eat more food, which is enjoyable. It's a perk of being on a plant-based diet, that we don't have to restrict our calories, that we can just eat until we're full. We can eat until that stomach is nice and plump and those stretch receptors are activated. And in doing so, we're going to meet our caloric needs so we have energy, right? All of that glucose from those plants is going to be then escorted into the cells of the muscles by the insulin, and it's going to be done so effectively because we are on a plant-based diet. That means we have a small ratio of fat in our diet, which means we're not going to have all that fat in our muscle cells and in our body gumming things up, so things can work more effectively, things can flow. Think about that fat in your pipes in your kitchen sinks. It disrupts the flow. Things get clogged in there. And the pipes start to erode and get damaged. So it's the same thing with all the pipes in our body. When they're gummed up with fat, things start to go wrong. So the stretch receptors on a plant-based diet, also you're eating a higher quantity of food. You're also eating a lot of starch. So, starch comes from your corn and your beans and your rice and your pasta and your potatoes and your sweet potatoes and your legumes. I said beans. So you're getting the starch. And what starch does in terms of satiation is it really makes us feel full. So when you eat, let's say a dinner of, a couple of cups of rice with a bunch of vegetables, that is going to really satiate you. Sometimes I eat a dinner of just potatoes. I will cut up 2 to 3 large potatoes and we'll bake those up as French fries with no oil, but we put lots of spices on there. Remember that when we eat, it's spice. You ever heard of the spice of life? Spices are what makes food taste so interesting and exciting and delicious. I guarantee you, if you were given a boiled piece of chicken, or a piece of chicken over here with spice and sauce, to flavor it, which one do you think would taste better? Forget about health, but which one would be more pleasurable on the palate? It would be the one with all the flavorings added to it. So it's the same thing in the plant world. If you were just to eat a raw carrot, which can be delicious on its own, or if you were to, roast it in the oven with some spices on it, one would probably taste better than the other. Okay, so why did I get off on that? Spices. Okay, so going back to starch. So starch is what is very satiating. So that's one of the reasons that succeeding on a plant-based diet is so easy. It's so easy because we can reach satiation by eating a nice sized portion, include those starches, which are key, and then we reach true satiation so that we don't have those cravings later, so that we don't reach that screw it attitude. I'm going to eat everything in sight. If you've ever been there and just binged and just shoved food into your mouth as fast as you could because your body is screaming, let's eat, that doesn't happen anymore. You just don't have cravings because you're satisfying, you're reaching satiety. So one other thing I quickly wanted to touch on was, and I did a whole video about this last week, was the popularity of high protein diets. So paleo, for example, or Atkins. One of the reasons that these diets have become so popular is because they do meet those two criteria. So they satisfy hunger because a high protein, high fat diet, those proteins and fats, they do help you reach satiation, and they satisfy the pleasure aspect of it as well, because we love our meat, dairy, and eggs. Those are like our most popular foods, and so we feel like on a high protein, high fat diet that we can adhere to that diet more easily. And I would agree with that. I would say that is true. But you have to not forget all of the health consequences that come with a high protein, high fat diet, like heart disease, diabetes, cancer, chronic fatigue, and the list goes on and on. The health risks that you put yourself at while eating these foods in abundance every day, all day, long term. I went on a plant-based diet and healed my chronic allergies and asthma. I mean, how did that happen? I don't understand how it happens. I mean, I had allergies to animals, I had allergies to smoke and dust and pollen and mold. I mean, you name it, chemicals from cleansers. I was exposed to these things and still am every single day. Only I used to be symptomatic moment by moment every single day around the clock, dripping and wheezing and coughing and itching all the time. That was just the way I lived. Medications, I took 5 different medications for my allergies and asthma. And now I still have allergies and asthma, but I'm not symptomatic. I'm rarely symptomatic. I mean, just by eliminating meat, dairy, and eggs, I don't know how that happens, but for whatever reasons, those foods cause illness, especially if you eat them in abundance and in regularity. So, you know, I would suggest if you can't, you know, you just cannot muster up the courage to go on a plant-based diet, at least try to minimize those foods for your health and for the sake of your family's health. You know, if you're providing food for your family, minimize those foods as much as possible, and the processed foods as well, and especially the processed meats, So processed meat, what is that? Anything that comes, you know, in a box, or, you know, like a hot dog or a chicken nugget, or, you know, bacon or sandwich meats. Try to eliminate those altogether, but at least try to reduce these foods. If you can't, you know, go on a 100% plant-based diet, you know, do yourself a favor and at least cut them back significantly and add in more fruits and vegetables. Add in more greens, add in more grains, you know, rice and beans, nuts and seeds. There's such a wonderful, beautiful, delicious abundance of these plant foods. So I think that's all I wanted to mention on that. And I just want to encourage you, those of you who are taking the 30-day challenge, or maybe you're getting ready to start a 30-day challenge, you're really doing your body such a huge favor. And when it comes to diets, you know, most people, they go on a diet to lose weight. That's kind of the point. But really try to focus on your health. Try to make your health the priority in, you know, this idea of going on a plant-based diet, because you're not just going on a crash diet to lose a little bit of weight before summer. What you're doing is making a lifestyle transition that will hopefully be the way you eat for the rest of your life. And so, yes, it has to be satiating, it has to satisfy hunger, and it has to be enjoyable and pleasurable. So find a way to make that happen. So everybody is going to be different, you know. Chelsea, my daughter, loves rice and beans. She eats tons of rice and beans. I mean, I don't think I could live that way. I need more variety. But everybody's going to be different. You know, maybe you really love vegetables, or maybe you really love salads, or maybe you really love, you know, cooked foods like pizzas and lasagnas and casseroles and things like that. You can make all of that work on a plant-based diet. Maybe you love potatoes. Congratulations if you love potatoes, because they are our friend on a plant-based diet. You can do so many different things with potatoes, and there's a variety of species of potatoes. So there's just really, the sky's the limit. You have to really stop limiting yourself and thinking that, oh, a plant-based diet is just nothing but, you know, eating salad and, you know, rabbit food. I get that all the time. Oh, enjoy your rabbit food. Okay. Yeah, I'm really deprived over here eating all of this wonderful, delicious, abundant food. So you really just have to come out of that mindset that there's deprivation on a plant-based diet, because it's not the case at all. There's so much variety, and the sky is the limit. Oh my gosh, just go on YouTube and, you know, or enter Google and just like plant-based recipes. I mean, there's millions will come up. So, but focus on your health. Make that your focus on this diet, not, you know, necessarily weight loss. The weight loss will come. Your body will gradually get to the shape that it was meant to be at, the most ideal, healthy shape that you were meant to be at by eating on a plant-based diet. So congratulations if you're doing your 30-day challenge. I just am here to encourage you and to just be your cheerleader. If you have any questions, you can always post them in the comment sections below on the Up Your Game Facebook page or on the YouTube channel, and I'd be happy to address those. And if you have any topics for me, if you'd like me to do a video on something specific, I'd be happy to do that as well. So thanks for watching.